All right, we're on to my part of the show. We
You've
got a
been waiting for this
new.
one.
I have
So
been
is it
waiting,
is
admittedly.
this album artwork allowed on YouTube?
I don't know. We'll find out. It's a new band for the podcast. Band from Australia, so you know they drink the good water. It's a band called Tapestry with their debut album, "The Pain You Desire, the Love You Deserve."
I say this, I think probably twice a year. Is this the best debut album by a new band
No.
ever? Maybe
Yeah,
not.
Jake has a point.
Very true.
I want to make a comment here, but I have to refrain myself for
Yeah.
fear
You
of
got,
end
you
of
got, you
year
got 4 or
spoilers.
5 albums to go, buddy. Let's.
I'm waiting for the "it's fine," and then my soul just.
Oh, this is
drops.
more than fine. This is more than fine.
I know. I'm excited. So this, I've been silent. No, I've been reserved about this album dropping since I heard one of the singles, "Descent," and I was blown away. Really fucking good single. And then I went back, listened to the other singles. "I Don't Belong Here," really good. "Hutchinson House" was a slow, kind of very acoustic sounding song while not sounding too slow and livening up the energy. It was
Hutchinson
great.
Terrace is not acoustic.
It was somewhat acoustic compared to like most of the stuff here. It had a lower energy, but either way.
Okay.
Then I went back to their debut EP, "Ghost of Me," and I was kind of skeptical. That debut EP left a lot to be desired, admittedly. It was quite unfortunate. But I still gave it the time and the opportunity. I went in this cautiously optimistic, as we like to say here. And this is one of my best songs of the year. Best albums of the year. It was so fucking good. The entire theme of like this open relationship that's kind of descending downward. And you get like the first half of the album like kind of suffering and sacrificing through that monotony and through that chaos, and then you get into Rive, which is different than the album in the way of like instrumentation, and it almost feels like the ripping and tearing, like in the namesake of Rive. Rive is to tear apart, and it feels like that kind of shift. And then the rest of the album, at least I think up until I think from Static and Violent Pictures onward, it's like in a third person of sort. Like it's like the I am this, the person that the album's talking about in the first half of the album has like moved on, or in worst case, a lot of this is about suicide, so maybe they died, and it's now focusing on the other person and that relationship. I loved that change, and once that kind of clicked with me, like I understood this entire album, and that's not even like going into track by track. Like each one of these songs is so fucking good. I've already talked about the singles. My 2 favorite tracks from the album. To ask me on a different day, I'm going to give you a different one. But "Turning Blind" and "The Pain You Desire and the Love You Deserve,"
Those are today's choices.
Those are my 2 choices. You ask me on a different day, and I'll shift between one or the 2. But like, they are phenomenal. "Turning Blind," it has a phenomenal chorus. The lyrics kind of suffering and sacrificing over a relationship. You get a really delicious unclean breakdown, and then a small shift, and then a guitar solo. So good. Going back into "I Don't Belong Here," that was one of my favorite songs for a while, because you get crazy instrumentals going into a really good chorus, and then the surprise of the "I Don't Belong Here" on the uncleans on that lyric alone.
Yeah.
Almost like like an affirmation of sort to really fit the theme of this album in general. And then that fading out into like an uncleans, really, really good. I loved the theming for Marionette and Rive, while not being my two highestly played songs on the album. Really good in the context of it all. It's just I think the uncleans on Marionette I think don't stick with me all that much, but that's fine. I still enjoy it and it's still saved. Let Me Leave is a really good, very high energy song, kind of like atmospheric almost with its instrumentals. Another surprise unclean portion. The lyrics for that, let me find them here real quick. So just watch me walk away from everything I love to fly with the doves, to be amongst purity. Don't clip my wings or chain my feet. Just let me leave. Really good lyricism all throughout this album. And that's not even talking about the phenomenal single that is Descent. It is so good. It features another Australian vocalist with the band Bloom, who does the uncleans on this song, and it's just like back and forth of high energy, cleans into uncleans into chorus, cleans, uncleans, chorus. Works so well. It's such an easy cookie cutter recipe that always works for me, and I hate it and I love it at the same time. Just so much I could say about this fucking album. It's so good. That being said, I did look at reviews for this, and some things were correct on this, where a lot of it can stagnate a little bit, especially if you go from like Marionette probably down to Violent Pictures. Mm-hmm. I think if like individually some of those songs don't really work well together, you really have to like listen to them in the context of the album to like really kind of understand and enjoy them more. But I don't care.
You're so real for that.
Yeah. It's still so such a really good. I've loved this album ever since it's dropped. I don't want to talk about how many plays I have on this fucking thing compared to everything else.
I'm gonna go find out actually right now.
I can tell you.
While you do that,
I can tell you. I'm looking at it right now. I can tell you.
I'm gonna do this. Okay. What do you mean the server members at? Man, okay, so here, you guys talk about the album. I'm gonna run this, and then Jacob and Jake can both guess and see if they're over or under.
Okay,
Derek, I'm looking at it. If you want to guess as well, that's fine.
No, this is a head-to-head between Jake and Jacob.
Okay,
what am I doing?
Jake, talk about the album.
We are guessing how many plays Justin has across the individual songs on this album. But anyway, what I was gonna say before all of that is that there are a couple of bands that come to mind when I listen to this album. Those being Holding Absence. Mm-hmm. Which might sound a little weird, but I think in like the lyrical depth that this album provides, it reminds me of Holding Absence a lot. And you do get that stellar Queen vocal delivery. But I also get a bit of Wind Waker from their debut album last year, which I wasn't super fond of. And I think
another band that drinks the good Australian water.
And what I think is so fitting about Holding Absence and Wind Waker as my comparisons for this album is that both of those bands are absolutely fantastic and rarely ever stick out to me. And that is exactly how I feel about this album. Because I listen to this front to back and I struggle to find you a flaw. And then I also have very little desire to go back to it outside of a couple of songs.
That makes me sad.
It's a similar effect to how I felt about the Rain City Drive album from last year. Where, like, outside of Waiting on You and Cutting It Close, like, yeah, everything I heard is fine, but there isn't something that's, like, I feel like I'm missing out if I'm not going back to it. This feels like another one of those albums that's just fantastic, and this band's next album is going to be incredible. Like, any future releases that this band is going to drop are, like, I am very curious to hear more from this band, because I think they have extremely high potential. In the same way that, like, Caskets or, like Wind Waker, Holding Absence, any of those types of bands that I mentioned have blown up. I think Tapestry is well on that path with this debut album. Outside of the opening two songs and Marionette and Violent Pictures to an extent, I really haven't connected with too much of it. It's all solid. If I throw it on, I'm not complaining. but it's one of those things where like I get to the end of the song and I feel like I barely remember what I just heard.
What do you think about a traceless comparison?
Yeah,
I can get behind
I
that.
can see that.
I can get behind that.
I also kind of thought of like picturesque, especially in like the vocal delivery, or maybe even a too close to touch. I don't know. That's just on the vocals.
Yeah, I can see a little bit of both.
So we're gonna play the game where we guess now.
Oh, well, see, I tried, but according to the bot, Justin has never listened to this album. So
why are you checking the bot? You could have just checked my last FM, or I could just do this and message you it.
Oh, he just messaged me it. Oh wow, the bot is out of date. The bot is out of date. Okay, we're gonna start the bidding. Never mind. Jake, guess how many listens does Justin have to this album? Like to all the tracks in the album.
612.
Fuck, I was gonna guess 600.
Jacob,
I was gonna guess 600. I'll go 450.
That's Jake wins.
Isn't Jacob closer?
No, Jacob's closer.
He's closer, but he undershot it. It's 529.
Yeah, 529.
Which is almost as many plays as I had on
right in the middle
last year.
Yeah, it's so fucking wild.
That's funny how we just like perfectly went to both ends.
Yo, we need to have like the Price is Right tournament or some shit. Y'all were a little too close with that.
Crazy. One of the other before we move on off this album, because I've said pretty much everything I wanted.
Well, I feel like Derek hasn't really gotten to speak about this album too much yet.
I would like to briefly put in that this album fucks.
Hell yeah! All in agreement.
There is no bad song on this album. Not one. Hold on, I have my doc up so I can fact check myself this time. I would say that this and Dead Lakes are probably the two most consistently good across the board albums that I've heard. That to me, none of these are like a 10
for Silent Planet,
right? Well, I guess part of what I mean to that is that none of them are a 10, but also none of them are not a 9. Everything here is just so good. Truly, this is a product of August for me that I haven't had the chance to listen to this more than twice. But there is so much lyrically and just overall to appreciate here that once there's a lull, which unless Conquer Divide fucking blows my socks off, which it probably will, but if it doesn't, these first couple weeks of September, I think I'm definitely going to gain a new appreciation of this album. One that is, again, not... I feel like I've spoiled a lot of my top 10 this episode, but it's not in my top 10, but it is damn fucking close, and all it needs is a little bit more time to...
All I want to hear at the end of the year is top 10 list, Derek, Tapestry.
It's number 13 right now, behind Hail the Sun.
I've fucked up Jacob with being his number 1 in 2020.
Actually, all of my... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
And I think I fucked up Jake at one point. So
this
now
you fucked me up multiple times. Like, you've taken my number.
I don't apologize. Twice. It's worth it.
It's really funny because my 11, 12, and 13 are all albums released this month.
Crazy. Yeah, I want to reference the title track again, just because it's so good. It's got like a constant sound all throughout it until you get to the second chorus, where it says, "But there's something that's left inside that you just won't seem to come out unless you're drunk or high, fleeting the solace of what you desire, of what you deserve." The vocal delivery shift on that in that second chorus when those lyrics were added, and then the lull of the instrumentation down into like the more softer side of the song. So good. So good. Guys, would it be crazy to say if this was somewhere in my top 10?
Honestly, I don't know anymore. I feel like it might be your most disappointing album of the year.
I don't know. At this fucking point, who knows?
If we had like... I feel like if we could give alignments to everybody's like top 10, you're
Oh,
like
mine is
definitely
absolutely chaotic evil.
it's chaotic evil for sure.
What's
That begs the
mine?
question:
I'm the
what is everybody
predictable
else
one.
is? Jake's is probably like lawful neutral or some shit.
Lawful neutral, I could see that.
Or neutral good, some neutral.
Jacob would probably be like a neutral good.
I feel like mine's pretty obvious.
I almost
Actually,
want
I
to say
don't-
Jacob is chaotic good because you get like Alpha Wolf next to Garden.
Fair, yeah.
No Garden album this year, I don't think. Right?
Unfortunately, no. it's
I
just
think
like-
Derek is also just chaotic good because of the range of
Yeah.
music he listens
Hey guys,
to.
here's my top 10. We haven't talked about 7 of these albums. Let's go. It's just as bad this year, folks.
Is there anything else we want to say on this album before we move on? I need a reason to shut up about it.
No, other than if you aren't
Vouch.
already convinced to listen to this, vouch, yeah.
Bro, listen to this album, please. I beg of you.
There have been a lot of damn good debut albums this year. This is another one to add to that list.
Yes, absolutely.